Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Our invocation today will be delivered by our own Craig Maxwell, who is celebrating. Yesterday was actually the end of his 35th year, and today is the beginning of his 36th.
Correct.
With the county.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioners, you'll bow your head. Lord, we come before you today knowing that you are our Creator and our Redeemer. We ask that you strengthen us, restore us, and inspire us with your love. We are forever thankful for those many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Let us now use those blessings to make this a kinder, more compassionate, more understanding world in which to live. Lord, please let us always be reminded that your Son was the example by which we should all aspire to live. We confess we have not always done right in your eyes. We ask that you might forgive us of our sins, just as we should forgive others. Lead us not into temptation, and be with us on our journey. Please lay your healing hand on those who are in pain and suffering. Protect, guide, and watch over those who stand in harm's way. Grant that we may go into the world with your strength and your love. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Craig. Congratulations. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one announcement as it relates to today's agenda. That is it's under Information Technology. It's item 9G1. We're going to ask that we hold this for one week. Also, members of the Court, just want to remind you and to remind our county family that we are not going to have Commissioners Court on Tuesday, July 14th. Thank you.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our June the 9th meeting.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have one proclamation today, and I think I'm going to call on Benton Clark to come forward.
Would you read the proclamation into the record, please?
I will be glad to. Whereas Benton Clark is the Executive Vice President and CFO at United Way of Tarrant County, and whereas he has worked in a nonprofit field for over 4 decades and has held his position as top financial officer at United Way since 1991, and whereas named United Way Leader of the Year by United Way Worldwide in 2012, Clark was the first person to receive this recognition from United Way Worldwide. And whereas through his leadership, United Way's public support and revenue has grown from $22 million annually to in excess of $33 million annually. And during this same period, United Way endowment funds have grown to in excess of $14,450,000, with funding distributions of $5.6 million. And whereas Clark began his career in 1972 as a staff accountant for Dallas ISD, he joined the United Way in 1974 as internal auditor and served as Assistant Division Manager Finance from 1980 to 1991, when he was promoted as the Finance and Administration Vice President, now called Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. And whereas in the 1980s, Clark played a crucial role in overseeing the implementation of of the initial fundraising software for United Way and its transition into the current fundraising software in '99, as well as the integration of the organization's 211 information and referral service infrastructure with the statewide 211 system. And whereas Benton Clark is retiring from the United Way of Tarrant County after 40 years of dedicated service, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, are pleased to recognize Benton Clark for his outstanding achievements and contributions to the people of Tarrant County, and hereby proclaim June 19, 2015 as Benton Clark Day, in witness whereof we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed the 16th day of June 2015. Benton, congratulations.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner
We
Brooks?
congratulate you on your retirement, and we'd like to present you with a little something to take.
Firewood.
Benton, would you like to make some comments again?
Well, I might say about 6 months before I came to work for United Way, I married my lovely wife who could not be here today, and we moved from that county from the east over here and have thoroughly enjoyed this for many, many years, and we plan to be here in the future too. So thank you very much for the recognition.
Benton, thank you for your dedicated service to the community.
Thank you.
Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McMillan is going to do item A1.
Judge, Commissioners, several years ago, the City of Fort Worth established the Trinity Lakes TIF. This was their Fort Worth TIF Tax Increment Financing District number 14. And the location is along Trinity Boulevard, east of 820, with the Trinity Rail Express line to the north and the Trinity River to the south, as shown in the attached map. This is an 1,800-acre TIF, and it's supposed to provide support for the redesign and reconstruction along Trinity Boulevard to alleviate the flooding and congestion, as well as provide additional street connections and transit-oriented development along the rail line and extensions also to Trinity Trail System that will feed into the City of Arlington. Funding through the TIF district will pay for approximately $62.5 million in public infrastructure, as shown here, including roadways and intersection improvements to trail connections, wayfinding, and commuter rail facilities. The improvements are also expected to facilitate private development of retail, commercial, office, and residential development valued at over $822 million over the next 20 years. The City of Fort Worth is contributing 85% of their incremental revenues into the TIF district. The Regional Water District is putting 100% of their revenues, and the county is being asked to participate at a rate of 50%. The hospital district is not being asked to participate. At the 50% plan as laid out in the Tax Increment Financing Participation Agreement, the county would participate for the 20 years of the TIF until December 31st, 2032, or until a cap of $10,806,802 has been met. As you can see on the screen, the total participation would provide about $59.5 million from the city, $10.8 million from the county, and about $1.6 million from the water district. Since the time that the zone was established, There's been some some residential development on the south side of Trinity Boulevard, but that's about it that's been happening. They're ready now to move forward with redevelopment of Trinity Boulevard, which will be done by the developer. And then the commercial development to the north side will start after that. That's why Fort Worth has come to us now for us to do our participation agreement so that the developer can get the financing in place. So we're asking today that the Commissioners Court consider approval of the resolution and participation agreement, which provides for the county participation in the Fort Worth Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 14 at a rate of 50% of the county tax revenues produced from the increment.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Question. Who's the developer? Who's the developer?
Ken Newell?
That's what I thought.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have two items we're asking the court to consider this morning, and the first is to receive and file the auditor's report for the exit review of the criminal district attorney. This was as of 12/31/2014 and before Ms. Wilson took office.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the other item is to receive and file the auditor's report for Justice of the Peace Precinct 6, which you have the response attached. And I would just ask, if you have any questions, otherwise that you receive and file it.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Snyder. Don't get excited there, Mr. Harris. I know you're dying to get up here, but hold on. Go ahead.
Is he behaving?
He is.
Okay.
He's just getting a little anxious.
Looks like someone's mailbox got in our way while we were doing some road work. The Risk Management Board is recommending the payment to Barry Anderson in the amount of $1,240.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now, Mr. Harris, come on up.
Your Honor, members of the court, we have two items on the agenda. The first, we're asking the court to receive and approve a memorandum of understanding between Tarrant County and the Special Prosecution Unit. The last legislative session, the legislature shifted responsibility for prosecuting civil commitment of sex offenders from Montgomery County to the county where the last sexual offense occurred. This is an arrangement that will allow us to partner with the Special Prosecution Unit and have them absorb those costs.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please
I
vote.
don't suppose it would do to debate the merits of civil commitment at this point, so
Motion passes
let
unanimously.
alone.
The next item, the court has previously given authority to the Criminal District Attorney's Office to negotiate an employment claim. We are here today asking the court to approve the settlement of the claim with Shannon Howard.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Glenn.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning, and thank you. We have three additional items. The second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the district clerk's office. The assistant manager of criminal is retiring at the end of June with 400 vacation hours. The district clerk is requesting a waiver effective July 1st. We're estimating that the net cost to the general fund will be almost $16,000, including fringe benefits.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item, we're asking the court to approve a double fill and to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for Precinct 3. As described in your court communication, these two actions will allow Commissioner Fickus to fill his precinct administrator position immediately if approved by the court. We're estimating the cost to the Road and Bridge Fund to be approximately $71,000 for both actions.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Why is it going to the road and bridge?
Because she's over that.
Is it not Road and Bridge?
That's where it's funded from.
The precinct administrators?
All precinct operations.
Responsibilities that.
Well, I understand that, but it's in our budgets, and it's not in our road and bridge budgets, in our,
It is.
Theirs are, yours is not. Yours was when you were a commissioner.
you're telling me that Jane's salary was in road and bridge and not in my general budget when I was commissioner?
That's correct.
It was in your general budget. It was in your general budget, which was in the road and bridge fund, which is the case for all four of the commissioners.
Are all the employees in the precinct in the road and bridge?
Correct.
Well, I learned my new fact for the day. I can just quit now. I don't have to worry about anything else the rest of the day.
Okay.
Motion passes unanimously. I just thought we had two different sheets. One that says road and bridge and one that says office, precinct office.
You have separate sheets, but they both say road and bridge.
Okay.
But there's administrative, there's garage, and there's maintenance.
Well, that's what was confusing me, is the
Yeah, I think so.
administrative and then garage and maintenance were what I was considering to be the
But
road
all
and
of them
bridge.
are out of the road and bridge fund.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So our fourth and final item, we're asking the court to approve changes to the table of organization to add a new housing counselor position in housing. This would be a pay grade 17 position and would help to address workload, an increase in workload in housing. This is a grant-funded position, so there would be no impact to the general fund.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Wilder, we already approved your position. You can go back to the back and start eating again. Chris?
Remember, we said we were going to.
That's right, we're holding that for a
Yes,
week,
sir.
aren't we? Well, I'll get to you next week. Take a week off.
No.
And I noticed Beecham is visibly missing after last night's thumping.
Judge, if you have any comments, I'm sure he's watching looking at his computer right now, just waiting for your words of,
I'm sure he is, but I can just, a computer, yeah. I'm gonna have to be a little careful because I may be on the thumping side of it tomorrow, so I'm
well,
gonna.
he'll be back
I done been thumped once.
You've been thumped.
I done been thumped
Meanwhile,
once.
we want to recognize
Yes,
Tiff.
yes, sir.
How did LSU do?
They didn't do too well.
Monday.
They didn't do too well.
Sunday.
Whoops,
They
that's the wrong
lost.
hat.
A lot to a little.
That was the wrong purple. There's the right purple. They did a great job, and,
Number one to the losing bracket.
that's right. That's exactly right. So, and if they don't win tonight, they'll be going back to Baton Rouge. Go right ahead.
Okay. We have one item for your consideration this morning. We have bid number 2015-128. This is for the Bessie May Headwall Projects for the Transportation Services. We're recommending the award to Reliable Structure and Site Concrete in the amount of $41,700. And if approved, we're also seeking contract approval and acceptance of the payment bond.
Move approval with the clarification that Bessie May is a street and the contractor is Reliable Structure and Site Concrete. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Pretty big bid. spread there, isn't it? 71,000 or 77, 41? That's pretty substantial on a small project.
Must have been
Yes,
some
sir,
Southwick
that is
bids
quite
in there.
a spread there. Yes, sir.
You mean-
41. I'm not, I don't know. Is there, Bill, is there a reason why the spread was?
Two companies are from Arlington.
We called the low bidder in and questioned him about this, why there was such a discrepancy, and he was very comfortable with his bid. So,
Okay.
Are you
If
comfortable?
the contract is fine, I'm fine.
Well, he's, you know, okay.
He'll be fine, he'll be fine until he's not.
Yeah, I just, you know.
Reliable
somebody get
has-
halfway
It's a
into it,
small
you know.
job, you're right, it's a small job, and for it to be half as much as what just about half as much as what the next lowest bid is,
I believe that Reliable has an annual contract with the county, and so their pencil is perhaps a bit sharper than someone who does not.
Well, isn't D.R. Howard, that guy does a lot of work for us, too, doesn't he? One of the other bidders?
I call a question.
Good.
we done. I think we've already voted, hadn't we?
We have. We do.
Okay. Are there any appointments? We got a fluid
I'm
court
just trying
today.
to spread the meeting out.
I know, we just,
You're moving kind of fast.
He's just looking out for you, Commissioner Brooks.
I appreciate it.
It's all love.
do any of y'all have any appointments today? There appearing to be none, then I'm sure you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And now I see that Early snuck in late.
Actually, he was there on time.
Not quite.
Members of the court, we have three different things we'd like to brief you on to slow the process down a little bit. So the
Good.
first is the hospital district, and Mr. Early is here to address the court.
Oh, we was waiting on that announcement.
I know that.
Let me give, my briefing will not be particularly long today, but let me give you one particular item that the board took up that I think is hugely helpful to the community, helpful to you all as commissioners, and that is when you are debating and deciding whether you're going to go out for a bond opportunity, there are a lot of people that can present services that would be beneficial to the hospital district and to this community. A variety of those folks are going to come by and meet with us. They're going to meet with me, they're going to want to meet with you, they're going to meet with a variety of people. We're putting into place a protocol by which those individuals will have a meeting that will take place every 2 weeks at JPS for all those vendors and contractors to come to and ask their questions, to present what possibilities they might have, and we will publish those questions and their answers on our website so that everybody knows. Because the challenge that you get into in these is you have a variety of people that, for example, may want to talk to you or talk to you. They may talk to me, they may talk to the chief operating officer, they may talk to the director of construction, and it gets very challenging talking to all those people. We took a page out of the book in San Antonio, in Dallas, and it was a much more effective process. So also, a lot of those vendors and contractors will want to talk to individual board members as well. So we don't want to restrict anybody from talking to anybody. We just want to make it a formal process by which everybody has the same answers. Everybody's getting the same information. And we, as a general group, are giving the same answers at one setting than to have 4 or 5 different settings and have somebody be confused. I think it's better open government. I think it's better use of providing the answers that everybody can see. For example, if a contractor asks us a question, but this contractor would benefit by the answer, all those answers would be published. So our board unanimously voted for that, which I think is helpful, and I think that will serve best for the community in getting information out and getting information into the organization. The other thing that we're doing is we're going to, for the meetings that you all have astutely asked for, which I think is wise to communicate with the public regarding the bond election and the potential of it, We're working on a webpage for our website that will link to the county's website that will talk about all the meetings, where the meetings are, some of the agenda items for that. It will have a question and answer process in there by people can ask their questions. Answers will be published as well. And we'll have that open for the public. We took a page out of a variety of school districts that have that. Arlington was a good example and others. So we'll have a web page that will link to the county's web page that will communicate when the meetings are going to be, what's going to be stated in those meetings, questions that are in those meetings, so the public can be best informed as possible, and everybody's getting the same information. In addition to that, we're working with Mr. Manius to make sure that we fit y'all's schedules, make sure we have those meetings at the appropriate times in the appropriate places, that they're organized well for the community, and we're in the continuing process of meeting with Mr. Manius and staff to figure out the best ways to do that. So trying to get in line with making sure that we do everything both in the most transparent way, providing answers for the best possible way that we can do that. So that's what I have as an agenda item for y'all today. That's what the board took up. It was a good board meeting. It was an efficient board meeting. We had a lot of awards. We had a lot of our nurses receiving awards. So we had a lot of recognition at our board meeting. So I'm available for any questions that y'all might have.
I want to thank you for working with us on setting up one of those public, I guess we're calling them, is it a town hall, GK?
Yes, sir.
Or?
Town hall. Yes, sir. They're town hall meetings.
Okay, and we've got ours on June 30th?
Yes, sir.
That's 2 weeks from tonight?
Yes, sir.
So 6:30?
Yes, sir.
At the Northeast Courthouse.
And we're working with all your schedules to try to figure that out. You want to do these expediently, but at the same time, you don't want to do them so quick that we don't inform the public that they can come out to have these meetings. And we're going to accommodate you all in any way possible for the amount of meetings that you want, where you want those meetings, and how you want those meetings. And again, we're continuing to work through Mr. Manius and staff to make sure we do those properly.
Is that the first meeting that's?
It's the one we have scheduled at this point.
We have three of the commissioners' precincts scheduled now. We'll have the last one by tomorrow, and so we'll.
What dates do we have right now, sir?
We have Tuesday the 30th for Commissioner Fickus, Saturday the 18th of July for Commissioner Brooks, and July 21st and 22nd for Commissioner Wynn.
The 21st is in Arlington, and the 22nd is in Mansfield.
In Mansfield, yes. And we look forward to those.
And Commissioner Johnson, we're working with your office, and we believe we'll have a date by this afternoon, actually.
It'll be prior to the NACO.
Yep. And I know that y'all's schedules are tough, but we want to make sure that we get this out and open for everybody that could possibly be there. And we appreciate y'all's efforts.
Do you have an anticipated date where the website will be live?
We're working and making sure that we can link, and we're making sure that everything's in it. Our design team is working on that. They started 2 weeks ago. They started after this meeting designing that page. So I would think that we would have that up within the next 2 weeks, Commissioner.
That would be good.
And that will give enough time, and we'll make sure that we have that.
Yeah, we want to have it ready, but in time for the meeting.
Yes, sir.
And we're working with Mr. Early and his staff. In fact, we're meeting again this afternoon at 4 o'clock. And we've had several meetings.
And will y'all be coming up with a joint news release, a JPS?
We're going to be
news
talking.
release?
We're going to be talking about that today,
Tarrant
Commissioner.
County, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And for the
whatever
courts,
you do, we want to mirror it on our news releases that
Sure.
we send out
Yes, sir.
internally.
And what we're also going to do, normally we have a monthly quarter page in the Star Telegram. We've already had this month's. We're going to move next month's up so it'll hit at least the last Saturday of this month, and that'll be dedicated solely to a descriptor of the town hall meetings and the schedule for the town hall meetings. It will also have the website on it.
And the website will include a lot more than just the dates and the times. That's an important piece of it, but we'll also talk about some of the key components and a question and answer process in there as well.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Your Honor, Commissioners, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you for coming out.
I'm happy to be here.
Good seeing you. See you this afternoon. Members of the Court, we can go to item B. This is a discussion as it relates to the on-site Tarrant County Employee Health Clinic. Ms. Worthy is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as you know, we have been talking about this for some time, so we want to discuss some possibilities of establishing an employee on-site clinic. If I'm not able to answer all of your questions, I have Joyce Kirk, our benefits manager, and Diana Konjovic, our PEBC executive director here. So hopefully we will be able to answer all of your questions. As you know, we have been researching this possibility for some number of months now, actually probably on and off for some number of years. And we've been looking at clinic models, levels of care, operational choices, advantages, our challenges, and of course cost. Our staff has met with JPS. I believe the last time we briefed you, that was the directive we were given. And so we've met with JPS on several times, again, over the last couple of months. We had initially requested that JPS provide us a menu of choices so that we could kind of select our level of care. And they thought the best option to provide us was a primary care service only clinic, which would include pharmacy benefits. So one thing to note is that our current pharmacy vendor through the PEBC is Express Scripts, and it does have an exclusivity clause in it. So obviously offering benefits for pharmacy through a clinic would possibly be problematic should we want to go that route. Okay? So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is the Affordable Care Act and the excise tax. You have been given a fairly detailed sheet in your court communication regarding this item, and I'm not going to go over that in that much detail. Certainly happy to ask questions or answer questions. As you know, the Affordable Care Act is somewhat of a fluid situation. There's staggered deadlines. Obviously, we have some deadlines in the future that we have been working towards meeting, and not really sure what may happen in the future. So we're doing our best. As you know, the county has been working to eliminate or at least reduce our liability with regard to the excise tax, and have been making progress towards that over the last few years. According to the current IRS guidelines, on-site clinics that provide primary care will be included in the excise tax. Okay? So that is something we certainly need to consider as we move forward with the possibility of establishing a clinic. In addition to that, there may be some considerations that need to be reviewed having to do with the high deductible plan or the HSA plan and the first dollar spent that's required under those plans by the employee. Those plans don't have co-pays, and the employee is responsible basically for the first dollar spent. So having said all that, we have 4 options for you to review and consider. We're certainly not asking for a decision today, but to lay these out for you so that you can begin to think about them. So option 1 would be to take a step back and possibly hire a consultant to help us review all the pros and cons of establishing a clinic. They would do research on utilization and claims, help us design a clinic model, and possibly look at return on investment targets. The advantage to this would be allow us to collect more information from an expert in designing the clinic. Obviously, the additional considerations is the cost of the consultant and the delay of opening a clinic. Based on our rough estimates of what it would cost to hire a consultant, it would be approximately $10,000 to hire a consultant to help us with the review of that. Now, additionally, we were told that if the consultants would stay on and then help us operate that, or get the clinic up and running, should we decide to do the clinic, they would waive that $10,000 fee, but of course there'd be a fee to help us with possibly opening the clinic. So under option 2, we could just move straight forward into an RFP and go out on the street, so to speak, to select a company to operate our clinic, a third-party administrator, and possibly select a company that would operate a clinic for us. The advantage to that, again, would to be move forward, and the additional considerations would be, as we've mentioned before, the impact of the excise tax and versus the possibility of cost savings that might be provided to us. And of course, the issues to the high deductible plan. With regard to the cost of the RFP, just doing the RFP, if we did it by ourselves, there would be no cost. If we ask the consultants to help us through that process, we estimate that would cost approximately $35,000. Should we choose to operate a clinic through a third-party administrator based on our research, and these are not hard numbers, but our research indicates it would cost between $750,000 and $1.5 million to operate a clinic. Okay? And obviously, like I said, those are estimates based on our research. Under option 3, we could accept the proposal from JPS for a full-service clinic. Basically, this would be a standard JPS clinic that happens to be on Tarrant County property and would be open only to Tarrant County employees. Okay? And the cost to the employee would be as if they were going to any kind of clinic. Their claims would be filed through their insurance carrier, whether they're with our insurance or if they're an opt-out. If JPS was on their plan, then they could utilize that clinic and those claims would be filed. So the advantage to that is obviously we would move forward and open a clinic in a quicker method. The considerations, and you're going to hear me say this more than once, the possibility of the impact of the excise tax and versus the possibility of cost savings. The other thing that we're not sure about with a primary clinic is what kind of utilization we would get. Would employees want to continue with their own primary care service providers, or would they seek these out in the case of acute care? I get a cold and my doctor's not open at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and our clinic is, that kind of thing. So we would have to weigh that. As far as cost estimates, JPS's proposal has indicated that they would waive any kind of administrative fees. So the cost would be through the insurance plans for the claims to be filed, and then whatever operational costs for the clinics, which might impact us no matter which process we went through for a clinic, and I'll talk about that in a moment also. Additionally, under option 4, we could basically take no action. We could wait to see what the final regs are on the excise tax, which is due to come out in 2018. And hopefully as we approach that date, we'll get firmer information on what will be included in the excise tax, and we'll have firmer estimates on the impact of the excise tax to Tarrant County based on our health plan, and then what that clinic how that clinic might impact it. The advantage to that would be allow us to have consideration of what the excise tax impact. But the disadvantage to that, or the additional consideration, would be the delay of the ability to open a clinic. If we waited for that, it might be 2017 before we really even knew what was going to happen with the excise tax, and therefore couldn't even begin to start planning a clinic until late 2017 or 2018. At this point, there would be no cost to that. Last year, when we began talking about this, as I said, we've been talking about this for quite some time, we did locate a space in the Plaza building, which is about 2,800 square feet. We had facilities assist us and do a cost estimate, and this is a year-old estimate, but at that time it was $250,000, and that was just to build out the shell of that space. It was to build out 2 exam rooms, get some offices for file storage, some restrooms, a waiting area with a cabinet, but no medical equipment, no medical exam tables or lighting or any of those things that might need. That would still need to be purchased based on what kind of a clinic we might want to operate and who we chose as our provider. And so that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions, or if I can't answer them, hopefully someone behind me can.
Questions?
Now, if we add if we put a clinic over there, then right now it appears that whatever the cost of that we have to pay the excise tax on?
Yes, sir. And right now our estimated excise tax is at about $1.2 million for 2018 based on our current plan design. That's the last information we got from the PBC. Earlier this year in a meeting.
And remember when we started out the discussion about this excise tax, we were thinking it was $5 million. Mm-hmm. And so I want to say that because you as a court have approved things that we brought to you over the last 2 years that have brought that number down and continue to bring that number down. And so, we're still shooting for that target of getting to 2018 and not having to pay any excise tax.
But adding a clinic's gonna add to our.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. My thought in even proposing or talking about a clinic was that it would be something where instead of there's one savings that we really can't put into the mix, or it's going to be hard to calculate. But if we basically employ a doctor, employ a nurse, I'm not sure exactly where the 750, how many employees you planned on. I think a lot of that deals with the fact that, as Robin mentioned, okay, we've got to figure out how to file a claim, and we've got to figure out what to do with the PPO versus the people with the high deductible. Part of me says, okay, what if we just say, we're going to hire a doc, we're going to hire a couple of nurses, we're going to hire somebody to check them in, maybe 4 people, we're going to have a facility. We're not going to bill. We're not going to bill anybody. The goal is that if we spend money here, but it's less money than we spend when our employees take time off, take a half a day or a full day off and go to the doctor, and then that doctor ends up billing through, we pay that anyway. We pay all of that because we are self-insured. So if we create a clinic and that clinic saves us money on the other side, then it doesn't end up costing us anything on the excise tax, any more on the excise tax, and could cost us less if the clinic ends up being less in a full year than what all those employees going to the doctor, and that doctor charges us whatever their standard or whatever the contracted amount is. And it's hard to, that's where a consultant might be able to help us do a what if from that standpoint. Now, the other point in my mind is if there is no copay, if the employee knows that they come there, and I'm not saying they come there and use them as their primary care doctor. I'm saying they would come there for the cold, for the allergies, for the flu, for the aches and pain type stuff, but not for, okay, I got a broken leg, set my leg. They may come more often because they know they don't have to pay if they come to us versus if they go to the other doctor.
Now, it is my understanding whether the employee pays or not, it still will impact the excise tax because it's a free
But
service.
Robin, I'm not worried about, what I'm saying is if the overall cost of the clinic is less than all of our employees going to the doctor and the doctor billing that and us having to pay that, then it doesn't even take into account the time lapse, because right now if one of your employees gets sick and wants to go and has to go to the doctor, they take the whole day off, or they take at least half a day off, and you lose them for that period of time versus, and it's primarily going to be for the people downtown. I mean, there's just not the concentration of employees outside of the downtown area, but if you set it up, I think y'all have looked at the Plaza building.
Yes, sir.
So if you look at the Plaza building, then that means it's going to really be beneficial to the employees who work in the jail, the courts buildings, the administration building.
Going to be open 24/7?
Nope.
No, sir.
Nope.
I don't
Then
think.
that cuts out 2/3 of the sheriff's employees in the jail.
It depends on what time it's open. If it's open it may not be open 24/7, but it might be open 12 hours, and then you'd have overlapping, and you could get the end of a shift, the beginning of a shift, and one entire shift. I mean, I don't know. What I'm just saying is if it were to be, and there are plenty of employee clinics that are in existence now that a consultant or that someone could go and say, okay, you've been in existence for a while, tell me what you think. But if a lot of the reason it's a $750,000 cost is because we got to have a billing clerk in there and we got to have somebody who's doing all of the billing part of it, then that's a $50,000 or $60,000 a year position.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would be in favor of hiring a consultant to help us look at this thing. I'd like to see some numbers on utilization, on return on investment, on what that whole picture would look like. It is just as likely as any other scenario that we would save enough money by doing this to more than pay for whatever we're charged in excise taxes. And that would be the best of all, the best of all worlds would be for us to be exempted from the excise tax, which we're working on.
So, yeah.
But certainly if we were to save enough money in terms of cash outlay and increased productivity, it may be worth us suffering the excise tax.
And of course, the excise tax isn't annual.
Right, it's
And
an
I'm
annual
hopeful
excise
that,
tax.
again, if it doesn't save us money,
Yeah.
if it doesn't save us more money than what we would spend otherwise, if it's real close, then I think we then have to weigh the productivity part of it. If it's not close at all, then I think, then we scrap the idea. I mean, I'm not trying to just throw this in as something that's going to increase our excise tax. If it doesn't reduce our costs, thereby reducing what we end up ultimately paying in excise tax, then I don't think we ought to do it.
We've got Bedford is doing something like this.
There's a lot of them that are, yeah.
And I'd be curious to see, how theirs is working. And because they've been doing it, a number of years now, got a little bit of history behind it.
If we can get answers to all these questions for a $10,000 investment in a consultant, I think that's money well spent.
Well, the cost and benefit analysis cannot be obtained in which we will be able to realize the potential savings without knowing what the potential utilization rate will be. And we know who all employees are in the downtown Fort Worth area, and we know their email addresses. We can easily put together a survey monkey, send it out to them at zero cost, propose a model of an in-house clinic, and ask them, if we have something like this in that particular location, what is the likelihood that you will use it? 1 time a month, 3 times a month, once a year? And their response will tell us whether we need to spend additional $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to hire a consultant. I think it's doable.
I think I would say, though, it would be a compliment because most of those people in the downtown don't have the computer to do the survey monkey.
Oh, really? They don't?
No. I mean, none of your clerks, your jail folks have access to a computer that they use to do this.
Yeah, unless they were to open it up to a site to allow the employees to participate in that survey. We do have a large number of departments that don't allow employees access to that sort of thing. And actually, that was a question we were going to include in our engagement survey should we go forward with that, but that's still pending, of course.
Right. So, if we can find a way to kind of gauge the potential utilization rate of the targeted employee population. They may not have a computer, but I hope that the department heads, especially those elected officials, will support us in gaining some insights, and depending what the response is, if it's 10% or 20%, then we'll move forward, or whatever that ratio is. But
have we checked with other counties?
We have talked to other entities. It was last year. And we talked to some cities and counties about their clinics. And, of course, Dallas County has a clinic and has had for years and years. And there are some cities that have had them a long time. Some of them use them as occupational clinics for their workers' comp type issues, and some use them as acute care, and some use them as primary care. So there's a variety of models. Travis County had one. They actually opened one initially and then opened 2 more, and they have been displeased with their model, so they've hired a consultant to come in and review their model, or that's what they were in the process of doing last year. I haven't spoken to them again to review their model and possibly change their model. I think they were doing some primary care and disease management and that kind of thing. So, but I know there are some cities and entities that have had clinics a long time. And a lot of them, when you ask them, again, like we've said before, when you ask them about the excise tax, they don't know what you're talking about. So I think we've been ahead of the curve on that, to be looking at our plan designs and our impact. And I think some of them haven't considered what that may happen to them in the future. Again, they've have real established clinics, so they may have enough usage. Like
That's what I think if they've been utilizing the clinic for several years, they may actually be able to, with some degree of certainty, tell you whether they feel like they've saved money by the employees coming to the clinic versus them going to their own. And if we could just do a little before, if we could do just a testing of the water a little bit before we then go out and decide to do the consultant or a survey of something like that, that might be helpful at this time.
I agree with a cautious approach, like you suggested, Judge. Looking at the wellness program and looking at the exercise rooms that we have in the various courthouses around the campus, look at that utilization rate that we have right now. And that's good enough reason for us to be really cautious.
Sure.
I think it's a great idea that y'all are looking in that, but I just want to make sure when y'all talk to the consultants to look at the departments that have customer service base. We have staff, we have a lot of people coming in, Ron's office, Sharon's office, my office, and in the criminal section there's 40 women in a bullpen and men working. So, when you talk about, is it 1 time a month, 2 times a month, 3 times a month, it just changes dynamics, and I just want y'all to please look on our side of the coin when you think about that. If somebody has access to that, will they come in and once a month, twice a month, where they would probably just take something to get through the day, they're leaving the office to go do that, and then that puts, us having to navigate through, well, Sarah, do you get to go, or can you stay because 5 people called off on vacation and FML? So it does change the dynamics of the office. I'm not saying, I think it's a great idea, but please be mindful of when we say 1 time, 3 times, 5 times a month, are they going to use it? It does impact customer service, taxpayers, people coming in and expecting our staff to be there ready to go. So it's a dynamic I hope y'all consider. Thank you.
I'm not opposed to a survey of some kind, but you got to know what you're going to ask the people. There are all these models out there. There are primary care models. There are acute care models. There are disease management models. There are doc-in-the-box kind of models. What are we going to ask them if they're going to use?
I have no idea.
In addition to that, I'm sure that if we ask them that, they're going to say, what's it going to cost me? So, and I don't know that we have the answer to that question today.
Doing the survey before the consultant is putting the cart before the horse. The consultant needs to figure out all of that for $10,000.
It's been, like you said earlier, it's been a year or more since we started this discussion. I would like to maybe say follow up with some of the cities or the counties that we know are doing this and have now been doing it for a while, and just get a reaction from them.
And like I said, we have surveyed them, and
How old is your survey?
it was last year when we.
Let's update the survey.
Okay, we can do that. And we're certainly glad to survey employees with some real basic questions, but again, I think we won't have a lot.
The thing I would be most interested in knowing is, okay, do you view it to be successful? And if so, what did you evaluate its success on? Did it improve productivity of the employees? Do you know financially, do you feel like it saved you money financially as it pertains to, what you were paying to an insurance company? Are you self-insured or are you fully insured? Do you charge the employees anything for utilizing it? Do you have restrictions on what you cover? What are your hours?
Right, those are basic, we'd ask, I don't know that we got into as much of the return on investment, but we asked the questions, hours, staffing.
And see, return on investment is very important. I mean, I'm not looking at something to just add to our costs I'm not looking for anything that's going to add to our cost.
Absolutely, and last year when we surveyed them, I don't know that we knew the excise tax was going to be this much of an issue, and so we were really asking them about clinic design and staffing and that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
600.
Finally, members of the court, on the legislative issues, we will have a full briefing on the Texas legislative issues probably on the July 21st date. That way we will have gone through the period of when the governor can veto what he has vetoed and what's become law. We can do our analysis and we'll have that report to you at that time. Also, I believe that that our federal people have attached some information that's in your court packet, and we'll try to answer any questions the court may have at this time. Hearing none, Your Honor, that's all that we have at this time.
When did you say that we're not having court? Was that July 14th?
Yes, sir.
July 14th.
Thank you.
We will now recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. Having returned from our closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.